Hi, my name is Chantal Mormon and I'm the founder of Sugaring Change. We are a body positive hair removal studio and we're here today to talk about body positivity with Lisa Pepez. She is our studio's ambassador here at the Port Moody location, and we were so excited to have her come on board because she stands for vulnerability, honesty, open-heartedness, and body positivity. So our values really aligned, and she calls herself the Fat Yogini, and so I wonder if you might want to unpack that a little bit for us.
I do get a lot of commentary about that because the word fat is really charged for people. I think for me, where I've gotten to in my journey is that I want that word to not mean anything other than what it actually means. So for me, fat means there's more weight on my body. Where we've assigned all this other meaning is that fat also means unworthy, lazy, unhealthy relationship with food, ugly, unattractive, undesirable, all these other things, these assumptions, these stereotypes that are tied into it. That's all us. That's not the word.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's twofold. It's one, wanting to kind of not even so much reclaim the word as just break it down to be really simple. This is what it is. It's just a definer. It's the same as saying I'm tall, or I'm not tall. It's the same as saying I'm short, or I have green eyes, or I have long hair, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a descriptor. And I heard once I read this in a story about American Sign Language, and I talk about this all the time in workshops. But in American Sign Language, how I understood it from the person that told me this was that you need to communicate in as few words as possible, as descriptively as you can. So when you're talking about somebody, there's not this loaded charge to the adjectives you might use. If you want to describe somebody in sign language, the quickest, most expedient way to do that might be to say that fat person over there. And in that context, it's not charged, at least as I understood it. And that's when I really started thinking about this. That was actually something I learned before I started calling myself the Fat Yogini. I was like, that's cool. Why can't a word just be a word, not mean all this other stuff? So that's part of it. The second part of it is visibility is really important to me. I think it's important that people see that it's okay to live life fully in the body that you're in, and to not feel like you have to apologize for it, explain it, or pretend that it's not there. So for me, it's like, yeah, this is the body I'm in, this is the life I'm living, and I'm not going to let one thing interfere with the other.
Yeah.
So,
Would you say that was, or what was your light bulb moment for that? Have you always had that passion, or was there something that happened?
No, I mean, I struggled with body image for a long, long time. I think for a lot of people of size who've shared this experience, you go through life kind of feeling like you're always trying to fix yourself. You're constantly at odds with your body, like, and I think people struggle with this regardless of weight. But my experience was always being at war with my body. I was trying to diet to change my body. I was trying to lose weight to change my body. I was trying to, have bigger this and smaller that, and curves in this spot but not in that spot. And I think this is what we're sort of socialized to do growing up, is fit this ideal of beauty, which we're starting to understand is changing all the time. For me, what changed was when I started to inhabit my body through movement. So this is where yoga came into play for me. I started to feel what it was like to feel really good being in my physical body and paying attention. And I always start to touch my belly when I tell this story, because for me what it was in the beginning and the end of a yoga practice, when I was focusing on my breath, oftentimes the instructor would tell you to put your hand on your belly. And in the beginning, this was really uncomfortable for me. It was like physically uncomfortable because when you're laying on your back and you're wider, your hands don't quite go right to the center of your belly. So I'm like, I have to hold it there.
Yeah.
So there's that. But in the beginning, it was just uncomfortable to touch this part of my body that I always tried to hide behind my clothes. And it was intimate in a way that I wasn't used to. And so it was really awkward. And the shift, the light bulb, was the day that I did that. And instead of thinking, oh, this is awkward, and oh, my hand's not going in the right spot, or any of those other things, I thought, this feels really good. And I was having this totally pleasurable moment touching my belly, thinking, oh, I can feel my breath, this feels so good. And then I had to almost stop and like analyze that for like a half an hour because I'm like, what just happened? I just touched my belly and it wasn't horrible. And that was when I was like, wait, it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to be constantly at odds with your body. And that was my big like, oh, maybe it could be different.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
So we have a few other questions. We've gathered these questions from our sugaring practitioners because we have women on our table all day long of shapes and sizes and height, and a lot of women struggle, even women who appear to be meeting our expectation or our society standard of beauty. They still struggle and still come on our table and are self-deprecating. And so we gathered some more questions, and also from our practitioners because we're all human and we struggle too. So one of the questions that we wanted to talk to you about was what your thoughts are on food and body image.
Ah, it's a good one. Relationship with food is really interesting because the culture around eating for pleasure is really twisted on its head right now. When we're little, we just want to eat what tastes good and what we're craving.
Yeah.
Kids will crave the sugary, junky foods, of course, but sometimes they just want a banana, or they just want that peanut butter and jelly, or they just want you never know. Some kids go crazy for broccoli, right? Some of them do.
Some, not my kids, but
but the point is, originally we don't think about, oh, well, how many calories is this, or what is the person next to me going to think if I order this or I eat this?
Yeah.
And for me, I was on the diet roller coaster for years and years, and what I found really shocking was that when I made the conscious decision to stop dieting, which for me, it was such a revolution and terrifying, and I was really worried about judgment and was I gonna suddenly gain all this weight, giving myself permission to eat whatever I want? Was I gonna balloon up, huge? I was so concerned. And then a little while into it, I realized that it was kind of the opposite. When I was dieting and when I was policing what I was eating and I was thinking so much about what other people would think, every meal was a struggle in a way. You're constantly thinking about it. When you're on a diet, you're like, how many points or cards do I have left in the day? And how can I kind of get the most out of this? And you start bargaining, like, okay, well, I can have a potato and a salad because that's more food than if I have this. And it's supposed to teach you healthy choices, but what it teaches you to do is go between periods of restriction and indulgence and see those times of indulgence as like letting yourself cheat or have a break, and then the times of controlled eating is the right way. Now that I don't diet or restrict my food in any way, it's like if I want ice cream, I'll have ice cream. But on the flip side, because I haven't just spent 5 precious points cards or whatever for it, if I get full halfway in or whatever, I don't keep going because there's none of this contentiousness around food. Instead I eat because I want to eat. I eat what I want to eat, and I find that I don't often choose to eat a lot of junk. And if I do, I don't beat myself up about it because I know that later on I'm gonna eat something different and it'll balance itself out. I basically found that I eat less. I don't think about food nearly as much. When I was dieting, I was thinking about food all the time.
Yeah. Become obsessed with it, really.
You do.
And then it becomes the enemy that you're battling with, right?
Yeah, and it shouldn't be that way. Even my diet foods, I can tell you some stories. Even my diet foods, I'd be like, okay, I have 4 of these 100-calorie packs left, and if one of the kids touched them, I'm like, rawr, right? It's the 100-calorie pack. I should be thrilled that they're eating that instead of the junk food. Yeah. But no, it was constantly this battle of how many points do I have left and what can I eat? And whatever system you're using, there's this idea that there's a constant feeling of lack. And when you throw the doors open, yeah, sometimes you're going to overeat a little bit. But we do that anyways. We just usually do it for an entire day because we're like, well, I've blown my diet this morning, so I might as well eat crap for the rest of the day. Now it's okay, there's no diet to blow. So if I have a hamburger, I can still have a salad later. Yeah. There's none of that weird sort of psychology. And I know I'm sidetracking a little bit, but
do you feel like you've grown in self-trust and just listening to your body instead of listening to external things? I mean, it takes away everyone else's opinions about you. It's just sitting with yourself and listening to your body. And I kind of look at food as sort of fuel and nourishment, and I love myself enough to feed it good things and treat it and sort of my relationship with food. I
Yeah.
grew up with a lot of women around me constantly dieting and checking their figures, and at one point in my life I actually got rid of the scale altogether because
Good
I
for
was
you.
like, I need to just feel good, and
Yeah.
if I feel good, then that's the goal,
That's
right?
the important thing.
It's not about the number
Yeah.
or the size of your pants.
I agree. I have no scale. I haven't had a scale for like 7 years now, I think. 7 or 8 years. I think that's brilliant. I think self-trust is a big piece of it. I think we don't trust our bodies enough. If you're, I've learned that if I'm craving something salty and I have something a little bit salty, I don't crave anything salty anymore. There's nothing about it that I obsess about anymore. If I'm hungry, I eat, and if I'm not hungry, I don't eat. And so there's, like I said, there's less of a control aspect and more of a just listening to what I want. And the funny thing was, my thinking when I went into this lifestyle of sort of intuitive eating, I guess you could say, is that I thought I was going to gain weight.
Yeah.
And yet, since I stopped dieting, the years that I've gone not dieting have been my most stable weight years. My dress size hasn't changed up or down. It's been completely stable. Whereas when I was dieting, it was up, down, and that was much harder from a body image perspective. So,
For sure.
yeah.
Interesting. I'm sure we could talk for a long
I
time
know,
about
I
that
know.
one.
Topic.
Actually, well, you referenced kind of the ups and downs of body shape changing, and
Yeah.
wondering how do you keep loving yourself as your body changes, and as your body changes, whether it's through having kids or weight loss or weight gain, and if you don't like what you see, what do you do with that?
I think partly it's learning how to like what you see, and that's a huge topic. But first, dealing with changing body is challenging. It's difficult enough for many of us to get comfortable in our own skin as it is right now, let alone when it changes. So my experience with that was when I lost the most weight throughout my dieting sort of life cycle, my body got much softer, and places that were full and round, upper arms is a really noticeable one for me, or my belly, those areas got softer. My upper thighs, they got softer and sort of floppier, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And for me, that experience was really challenging because even though I was smaller and in my clothes, I put out this appearance that I thought was more pleasing. Like deep down, I was like, oh, it felt foreign. It didn't feel like my body in a way. And that was actually probably my lowest point in my body image journey, was when I lost the most weight. And I think it's hard sometimes to explain that to people.
For sure.
But when your body changes, it doesn't feel like yours anymore. And then for me, the really critical thing is that you lose touch with how your body feels. So practices that get you back into your body are really helpful. But as far as how to adjust, I think for me it's not ignoring your body. Noticing the things that have changed and being aware of them and not sort of avoiding looking at them or touching them, I think is really important. For me, I sort of do this fake it till you make it thing where I like rip the band-aid off. If my upper arms are bugging me, I try not to give in to the urge to always hide them,
Great.
because then I don't get used to seeing them.
Yeah.
And if I don't get used to seeing them, then I'm not going to get comfortable with them. So even if I'm just doing that at home, I'll wear like more sleeveless shirts or whatever. Go, okay, that's what it looks like, you know, and kind of get used to it again. And it doesn't always have to be a public thing. But just not allowing myself to sort of avoid areas of my body is a really important part of my practice.
That actually kind of plays off another question that one of our practitioners brought up, was just how to get past your body shape and size as a definition of your value and worth. So when you talk about not getting past that, sort of embracing your upper arm for exactly how it is in that moment is, you've sort of answered that a little bit, but maybe you could unpack that a little bit more for us.
I want to get a little nitpicky about getting past, because this is the thing, is that we're sort of socialized to believe, and this is true of everybody, it's women, it's men, it's younger people, it's older people, it's aging people, and we're socialized to think that there is a way we're supposed to look. We're also socialized to believe that there's a way we're supposed to dress for the way that we're supposed to work, a way that we're supposed to apply makeup for the way that we do for our age. I'm still giggling because I only got into wearing makeup like a couple years ago, and I learned that apparently if you're over a certain age, you're not supposed to wear like glittery eyeshadows. It's like a total makeup no-no. And I was like, but I like the sparkly eyeshadows. I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. So I wore them anyways, because this is my revolution, you know. With clothes, it's, you know, you're supposed to wear, you know, vertical stripes and horizontal stripes, which clearly I try to break those rules as much as possible. Now, I didn't used to. I was all black and earth tones before because they were more slimming. But I think that the point is that we're socialized to think that body shape and body image is something we're supposed to sort of fit into a particular mold, or if we are outside of the mold, that we're supposed to try to manage that process a little bit, like hide it or do things to disguise it. Don't get me started on body slimming, like undergarments and like things that are supposed to restrain you, and just, I mean, there's a term within some body positive communities around fashion called VBO, which is visible belly outline, which is a humongous revolution in larger bodied people to wear clothes that actually show your belly, like a dress or something that shows the belly outline. This is all like, and these are all things that we're so socialized about. But that's a whole sideline. But it is about the idea of getting past what we're supposed to look like. My body shape and my body size as a measure of my worth. You know, the best answer I have for that is that as I present myself to the world as the fat yogini, and as I try so hard to be visible as a larger bodied person and not hide from that part of me. In fact, it's a huge part of my messaging to the world. It's like, look, this is me and my body, and I do yoga, so you can do yoga, because that was a big thing for me. I didn't think anybody in larger bodies even did yoga when I started.
So one of our practitioners was wondering how you get past using your body shape and size as a definition of your worth and value as a person.
Worth and value. You know, it's funny, my work as the fat yogini, being very public about who I am in this body, one of my sort of coolest discoveries was that being in this body was actually an advantage. And that was, I remember the day that I came home and talked about that. I was like, you know what I just realized? I was like, for the first time in my life, I can look at my size as a positive thing. In not just a thing that I can get comfortable with and that I can accept and that I can love about myself because it's me, but this thing where I was like, hey, this is actually kind of a perk.
You're not just tolerating, you're celebrating yourself.
And the reason it's a perk is because when I'm teaching and I'm showing a pose to students of yoga, for starters, I'm showing them anybody can do this, look, I'm doing it. And that's one piece of what is really important to me about visibility. But the other piece is that I can say, look, here's me moving my belly out of the way in this twist. This is what that looks like. And this is what I struggle with when I'm training teachers, is because this message I want to get across is that students always want to emulate you. And people who view others in positions of authority or positions that they see as successful, they want to fit in with that group or with that person. This is human nature. We want to be accepted. And so our relationships with professionals that we deal with or teachers tend to be, we tend to want to sort of meet their approval in a way.
Put them on a pedestal.
So I find with yoga teaching, if I teach a pose at the most advanced level I can do it, which, let's be honest, isn't crazy advanced. Like my practice is gentle and
I think.
My practice is gentle and nurturing and not about like the crazy poses. But even in the poses that are somewhat basic, if I do it in the most advanced way I can, everybody in the room automatically tries to do that. Even if I then say, but if it's gentler for you or if it's more appropriate for you in this moment, add this block here or do this. And nobody will do it because nobody wants to be the first person to do something other than what I'm doing. So one of the things I talk about is how important it is to show myself at a level that other people can meet. So it's the same thing with my body. If I can show myself in this body and live my life in this body and teach in this body and touch my body when I'm teaching, then it gives permission for everybody else to do the same thing. So now my body is like a real life reference point, not only with students, but with teachers. So I had this moment where I was like, oh my God, like having this fat on my belly is amazing right now because I can show this teacher how it's okay to grab your belly, or I can show this student it's okay to like widen the thigh in this pose. And for me, that was this cool, different kind of light bulb moment, much further along in my journey. But practically getting past your body shape as a symbol of worth, that's tricky because externally we're socialized that this is a part of our value, is our appearance. And the best thing I can say to that is that find things about your specific body that are valuable, that matter to you, that have something you can go, this is a positive. Maybe it's, because of maybe you're really short and so you find it really easy to get in and out of, tight spaces. I don't know, but it's true. Like you can just find something to go, oh, this is actually kind of a benefit because, and that's really revolutionary because we're not, again, we don't get this messaging from any external sources that we could find something positive about things that we find are negative.
But if we start with the one piece, maybe it can expand to other pieces.
Yes.
It sort of is a catalyst, right?
There's always a starting place. And I say body acceptance is a practice. No matter how far along you are, you could say, I love myself, I think I'm great, I love my body, I think I'm beautiful. You can say all those things, and then tomorrow you wake up and you're having like a bad hair day, and like you're in a bad mood, and nothing's fitting the way you want it to, and you feel gross. Like no matter how far along you are, you're gonna have moments you struggle. And I think it's really important that you remind yourself that you're human, you're gonna have a bad day, and just keep trying to sort of give yourself that positive messaging that you're okay as you are. Yeah.
So if there's someone who's just starting this journey of body positivity, do you have any specific tips that you would recommend for them? Any practices?
My advice is to start with getting in your body. I think we live life very disconnected. So all of our attention is focused outward all day long. We're focused on jobs, driving, friends, kids, partners, relationships, bosses, and we don't spend a lot of time turning that attention inward. What helps is to find something that feels connecting with your body. So that's different for everybody. Some people like to walk. For me, it's obviously yoga. Some people like to meditate. Some people like to breathe. Some people like to lay in bed and like just look at the ceiling and have quiet time. Some people, for everybody, it's something different. But my best advice is to first get something that gets you into your body and actually paying attention to what your body feels like. Notice the way it feels to breathe, or notice how it feels to move your legs when you're walking or you're jogging. For some people, they like to dance. You go clubbing. Notice how your body feels when you're dancing.
Yeah. So it doesn't always have to be a slowing down of life. It can be something crazy.
It's like find the thing that you like to do that's some form of either physical or that gets you into a place where you can pay attention to either your breath or your body. Because as soon as you can start to notice how amazing your body is, whether it's, oh my God, this is so amazing that I can, like all these moving parts are moving together and I'm like doing this coordinated thing or uncoordinated thing on the dance floor. Or maybe, it's, for me, like I said, it was feeling balanced or strong in a yoga pose. For some people, like I said, some people love to jog. I can't imagine that for the life of me because I hate running, but some people love it. So I think the thing first is find something that makes you focus on how your body feels. I think sometimes we think we have to first just fall in love with how we look, and I think that's a really challenging place to start. I think start with feeling good in your body, finding things that make you feel powerful, strong, connected, and then pick one little thing that you like. It doesn't have to be, it could literally be like this one collarbone when you're wearing this particular type of shirt, and then like love the crap out of that collarbone. Right? Just like get really used to like every time you see that collarbone in the mirror, be like, yes, that is like awesome. And just the piece that you already like, just really go all out liking that one piece, because then you're gonna be like, you're gonna notice something else, be like, look at that dimple, and then you're like, oh man, I love the crap out of that dimple. And then you just gonna love the crap out of everything. Right? So it just takes time. But I mean, obviously I didn't start loving my belly. My belly was like the last part of my body I wanted to think about or focus on. So you start someplace that's accessible, that I tell people, meet yourself where you are in life, in yoga, in body acceptance. Find something that is accessible and doable, and then do that thing until it's not something you have to think about. And then step it up. Kind of follow your edge and push your boundaries just a tiny bit at a time. It makes it
We're so bad at being patient, I think.
We are.
So we see this and we just want to be there, where we don't realize.
I just want to love my body all the time.
I don't want to be steps, right? And I love that point that you made about it's not about loving the appearance of your body, it's about feeling your body and appreciating it and being grateful for your body.